Welcome to this seminar, and the name is From Hell to Heaven. I think about to have teenagers, and I think, as you all know, my name is Karin Jordos, and I'm the Secretary General of both Mentor International and Mentor Sweden. And I just want to give you some information about Mentor first. And Mentor is a non-profit organization, and we work to empower young people. And our vision is a world where children and young people are empowered to make healthy decisions and live drug-free. And we have members and nationals all over the world. And Mentor International support our nationals with mentoring programs, and we also support parenting programs. And if you want to know more about Mentor International, you can go to our website, mentorinternational.org. Great. So now we will start a parenting seminar. And can I ask you first, how many of you have small kids? Okay. And how many of you have grown-up or teenagers? Oh, great. I think it will be a very good discussion here today. And now I want you to start to think about when you are a parent, and don't think about the lovely things, fantastic and how wonderful they are, things like that. So just think, what is the worst thing to become a parent? Just think by yourself. What's the most painful or the worst thing with the parenting or become a parent? Okay, have you something to think about?
I'm thinking about the worry. The worry.
The worry.
Yes.
The worry. That's the worst thing. Yeah, I think so too. The worry, it's awful. What do you think about?
I think about how to get them to be obedient.
Okay. And you?
The aggravation that it causes.
Yeah. And you?
How to help them to be happy.
Yeah. That's difficult too. And you?
No, I agree.
Yeah.
To make them decent persons.
Yeah. And I was thinking about, when you think about parenting, when you're thinking about your work, then it's here, you have problems and you think about here, and your children, they are here, or here in your heart. And I think it's the same for all of us, because we all want to become better parents than our parents, and we want the better life for our kids than we had for ourselves. I think it's very natural that it is that. And it's also natural that, when someone criticizes your child, then you think, I want to kill them. And will I do it slowly or quickly? I think so. Because you really want to defend your kid. And my background, I've been a teacher and a principal for many years. And I had a lot of really problematic discussions with parents, because I met so many worried, angry, sad parents and teenagers. And I know, when you criticize a child, it's really painful for a parent. And it also can be opposite, So when my youngest son, he was 4 years old, and he was in a daycare, and we had this parent meeting. And it was one woman there, I think, she has quite annoying suggestions of things like that, so I didn't like her so much. But one day she came to me and she said to me that my son, his name is Anton, and she said, oh, I just want to tell you that I have noticed here that everybody loves Anton, and he's so nice and everyone wants to play with him. And then I realized, I have the wrong impression of her. So I changed my mind and we became friends. And we started to go out and have coffee and tea together and things like that. And now you think it sounds very easy and childish, but I think it is like that to become a parent. People who say good things about your child, you like them, because then you think they have a good judgment. So I have 3 grown-up kids, and I have one stepson, and I also have nowadays grandchildren. And I have worked with teenagers for all my life, and educated in family therapy and things like that. But I think that one of my kids, the one who has challenged me most, is the one who have teach me to become more humble and perhaps to become a better parent. Because I think if you have more than one child, someone is challenging you. And if you think about you and your siblings, if you do have siblings, then you can think that perhaps one of them has been a little bit more of a challenge for your parents. Oh, it was you. It was you. And today we know a little bit more about the youth development and the brain that we did before. Because today we know that the brain is fully developed by age of 25. Before we said, it was like 18 or 20 or things like that. But now we know it's here in the frontal lobe, where you take the decisions and then you think about consequences and things like that. That's the one who is not fully developed. If you think about that, all the bad things we did when we were teenagers, it's because of the impulse control, everything is on the frontal lobe. So you have to think about that. Perhaps until they are 25, they are not fully developed. And you can also think about the teenager. They always think about who they are, their identity. Because it's the time where you're going to start to think can I ever meet someone who loves me? Where do I want to live? What do I want to work with? So big decisions and problems to think about, and to think about my identity, and if I'm not very like my parents and who I'm going to be. It's a very hard time, in that way. And the young people said that they are thinking of, they have an imagined crowd. They are like on a stage. You think about us here, every morning we go to work, and we know that no one will notice us. But if you think about a teenager, think that when I go here to school, everyone looks at me. It's like I'm on a stage. Everyone looks at me. If I do a mistake, everyone will see it. And today, it is like that, because now we have the social media, so now they have someone who looked at them all the time, perhaps. So, and therefore, plus, then you can say also, you have the brain, you have the thoughts of who am I, they have you there like on the stage, and then they have the hormone roller coaster, like a storm, like a hormone storm. Then you can realize how difficult it is to become a teenager. Because when you ask people when they are grown up, what was the hardest time in your life? I think that 95% they will answer that was when I was a teenager. I think it's very easy to understand when you see this. Think about these things. Have you heard about this expression we have here in Sweden, that small children bring small worries and bigger children bring? You heard about that? Yeah. And I think, if you think about when you have a small kid, when you go to the daycare and you will bring them, and they come to you and oh, Mom, it's very nice, because they have really longing for you. And it's fantastic. And when you think about the teenager that said to you, can you please walk 10 meters behind me? Otherwise I will feel ashamed of you. I want distance. I want distance. And of course, it's quite painful for you when you are a parent. I remember when my daughter was 14 years old, I was at home, I was playing my guitar and singing, because I was alone at home. And she went home from school and she opened the door and she said, what are you doing? I said, are you playing the guitar? I said, yes. And singing? I said, yes. You can't do that. And I say, why? You have to think about, perhaps I should have a friend with me. Okay. No, I will feel ashamed. I said, but I live here. So things like that, And for her, because I said that to her now, and she said, for her, she said, I remember that. Poor you, she can say. But they feel, and it's painful, when they say that, don't be with me, don't talk. I have another friend, a neighbor, she said her daughter said, when you meet other parents, don't talk so much with them, just said hello and smile, and then you walk away. Don't speak to them, don't talk about the teacher, don't say what you think about everything. And it's very difficult, I think. And you can see a teenager want to be close sometimes, and they do not want to be close. And it hurts to let them go. It's painful for you, and it's even painful for them. Sometimes they want to be very small, and sometimes they want to be really like a grown-up. I think they have to think about that too. That's a very difficult time when you think about to be close or not close. And here's the first tool, because during this seminar you will have 6 tools, and I hope you will have something to reflect on, and I hope I can challenge you a bit, and then I will give you also an advice. So this is the first tool, and it sounds very easy if you think about food, sleep and exercise. But if you are a parent of teenagers, then it's very difficult. And before, in the past, they talked about when you were depressive, grown-up people, they should rest. But now we know it's so good to have routines and structure all the time. And to have this, teenagers need to sleep a lot, and they need to have this really structure every day. So if you think about that, and to exercise a lot, then you can think about that's really a good tool for them to live with. And I have met so many parents to say that it's difficult with the breakfast or difficult with sleeping or anything like that. But can you give them a structure that's really fantastic. So now I want you to talk with not now. First we will talk about this new thing. And we have a lot of debate now in Sweden, I think perhaps in other countries too, about grit. That's a new thing here. And I can say that grit is like a fighting spirit or something like that. We talked about what can make you successful. Is it the IQ? Or is it the environment? Who can it be? And now they have made so many researches, and I was early this week, and listened to 2 scientists talk about the new brain science, and they talk about grit. That's so important, and you can train that for kids. Instead of saying you are smart or you are sweet, you can say well done, because you can really encourage their effort. So instead of saying you are like this, or you are good at mathematics as your mother, or you are good at sewing as your father, or things like that we say, I'm bad at this, or I'm good at this. It's better to say, I really want to learn this, or I really need to learn more about this. Instead of saying, so grit, you can train that. And they also talked about that you can even teach small children to have long-term goals, because that's also encouraged the grit. Long-term goals, and thinking of that it was a good work you did. So we really need to understand that we have to practice. And they talked also about these 10,000 hours, to be good at something you need to practice 10,000 hours. You heard about that. And they said that some people need 5,000 hours and some people need 40,000 hours. So it's not fair, but still is that you really can practice. And they also talked about the flexible mindset. That was this, instead of thinking of that I am bad or good or anything, thinking about that I really want to learn this and I really want to practice this. And that's good, because all of us will fail many times and do many mistakes. And it's important with grit is that you can say, come along, you have to fight more, you have to practice more. So when you fail, you are not being depressed or, no, I will not do this again. Or so you can teach your children it's how life is. And then you give them another tool. I think that's interesting. I really want to learn more, and I think you can read more about it. And I know that in many families, when you have kids, even small kids, you have a lot of problem with conflicts. So now you can talk with your closest neighbor sitting beside you and talk about what conflicts do you have at home and about what topics.
I haven't had any conflicts because I live in my apartment. I have conflicts sometimes, but others have not very often, but they
So just having developed their, fully developed their personality.
yeah, hopefully. I'm not sometimes wonder.
But what kind of conflicts did you have when you had?
What kind of conflict? Very much that I sort of ignore more was the cleaning of the rooms. They were good children. They but also that I didn't have to fight. It's more.
And they were well behaved.
Not really good. She had attention deficit. She's good at diagnosis when she was so small. She was disobedient somehow. I was, of course, very somewhat. What about you? What kind of conflicts do you have?
I have smaller, so right now mine are just learning that they have free will and they want to express their free will.
I forgot how old they are.
2.5 and 1.5.
All right.
So they, and my 1.5 actually operates at a higher level, a bit at a higher level because of his brother. He's exposed to the 2.5 level of thinking. So both of them are extremely aware that they are independent individuals and they want to do what they want to do when they want to do it. And so they put up a bit of a resistance, and that's difficult because we obviously know what's
Okay. So what kind of conflicts did you talk about?
Well, my 3-year-old daughter is really stubborn, and that's great. A few small conflicts.
Mm. And what kind of conflicts do you have? Topics about?
We have fights about most things at home. You know, the more everyday tasks that you need to do, like cleaning and helping and cooking and stuff like that.
Yeah. And what did you talk about?
Mine are very small, so they're just understanding that they're independent people, and so they want to express their free will all the time, even when it's dangerous to their lives.
Yeah.
And so it's a challenge because we obviously know what's best for them, but we can't always make them understand it at this point because you're so young. So that's
They don't understand that when they're 17.
not till they're 25, right?
Because when you ask people what they are fighting about when they're a little bit older, I have many seminars and people say the same. Sometimes they all the time about anything, perhaps like you said. Helping out at home, it's a very common. Cleaning their rooms, things like that, homework. Now everyone talks about the computer time or being with sleeping with their cell phones, text messaging all the time, calling each other during the night, things like that. And curfew. I think that also it's when they are older. You are fighting about that. So what time and what going to happen, things like that. And do you recognize this?
Yes.
Yeah? And I think it's very common, and it's going to be like that. I think, you know, when you have a small kids, you think it's hard, and then you have the middle period, like between perhaps 7, 8, or 12. I think it's a period of harmony, because then, you know, when you say to them, now you need to go home directly from school, and then you take a sandwich, and they say yes, and they, you know, they will do that. You don't have to check them or anything. They are not lying. And then when they become teenagers, then you are a little bit back again as when they were small. And now we will come to the second tool that is really, really powerful. It sounds very easy, but I think, you know, when you start to use it, then you can see it's very effective. And we call it eye language. Everyone knows, and if someone said to you how you are, if they said that you are sloppy or you are worthless, or why do you always do like this, and why do you never help me, or things like that, how do we react? We defend ourselves. It's really natural for all of us. If someone said things like that, judging us, then we will defend us. But if you think about more, the eye language is to talk about how I feel and how I want it to be. And I met the mother. She had 2 boys. They were 7 and 8 years old. And she was so tired and hungry when she came home from work, and they were fighting all the time. So they have like conflicts every day at the same time. And she said to them, when I come home from work, I know I'm a little bit angry because I'm so hungry, and I really want to cook the dinner for 20 minutes. So I want you to play in your room for 20 minutes with no conflicts, so I can cook the dinner, and I will be happy then after we have been eating. And she said it works. From which age do you think you can start with this I message?
From early on.
Very early, I think so. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. From age 3, no problem.
And it's all about more to say what I observe, hear, and see, how I feel, and what I need, and my wishes, instead of saying how you are, and you're going to do this, and you're going to do this. And then you can also, perhaps they can be more, understands you more. So I decided when my oldest children were teenagers, I decided to try this. Because I fell asleep quite easy, but if I woke up in the middle of the night or after a while, it's so difficult for me to sleep again. And teenagers are always hungry, so they were in the kitchen and in the fridge, and they will have sandwiches and everything. So I woke up and I was angry with them. So now I think, now I will try this eye language. So I said to them, I need to work because I need my salary, and I need to sleep. And I have difficulties to sleep again if I woke up. So I want you to be very calm down and not go to the kitchen because I need my sleep. And then they looked at me and said, you are crazy. Because other parents, they are not like you. You can be there and they are sleeping all the time. And I say, oh, perhaps I'm crazy. It can be like that. But it is how it is for me. And 2 years ago, my oldest son, he was at home because it was Christmas. And we went to bed, and I heard someone was sneaking to the bathroom. Like this. Because everyone knows, don't wake up mom when she went to bed. So I think even, we think about your work life too. Think about eye language, When we are grown up and we work together, and when someone tells us how we are, then we got a little bit angry. It's so much better if we talk about that we are different, to talk about how I want it. I think it's a very good tool, and you can start with it tomorrow or tonight, later. And the third tool is about sorting problems. And it's also a good tool, because when they get older, if you are thinking about what you can negotiate about and what is absolutely non-negotiable, then it's so much easier for you. So you're not jumping about, sometimes you negotiate and sometimes you say no, absolutely not. And so you are jumping between this. If you think about, here we put all the things that is non-negotiable. What can you say, thinking about more like teenagers? What is non-negotiable? You will die for it. Can you say something?
Go to school.
Go to school.
Don't
Absolutely.
Drink.
Pardon?
Don't drink.
Don't drink. More?
No
Be-
drugs.
Pardon?
No drugs.
Yeah, no drugs. Be nice, perhaps, to others. That is non-negotiable. You are really, you really think that, you have it in your heart. And what can you negotiate about? Perhaps it can be, I don't know, pocket money? More?
Times in screen time, maybe.
Screen time.
Bedtime.
Yeah, bedtime, perhaps. More? What can you negotiate about?
Fun time.
Yeah. I think, if you think about it, and here is if you think about small children, here is the child's own responsibility. Oi. What did I do now? Oh. A small kid, you have to think about their age. Perhaps, in when they are smaller, it's non-negotiable, and when they get older, then you give them more responsibility. So there you have to change. But if you think about this one, if you are jumping between this, that will be very confusing, and they will know that. It's very difficult to be consistent. But I think it's so good if you can be consistent. So this is a really good and effective tool. And sometimes I meet people who say, can you please talk to my husband or my wife? And then kids know when you don't agree with each other. Sorry. So now we will have the next tool. And it's active listening. And if I will ask all of you, and I will say to you, are you a good listener? And all of you want to become a good listener. You agree? All of us want to become a good listener. We want that everyone should say, she or he, she's a really good listener. Thank you very much. And it can be very difficult. Because when you are worried or angry or upset, then you are not a good listener. And when you very often be worried when you have kids. When I was 11 years old, I was out and playing with my girlfriend. She was 12. We thought we were not like small kids, we thought we were very grown up. And it came a man, and he said, I need some help. Okay, and you can have a little bit, you can have money for it also. Great, my friend said, wow, Karin, great. And it was a problem, it was something with a burglar. It was a little bit confusing what we should do, but he said, it's been a burglar in my home, and I need someone to watch or guard my door. It was confusing. But, it was, we should help him, and my mother had taught me it's very, very important to help other people. So I think, yeah, that was a good idea. We should help him. And my friend said, no, it's good because we have money. We can have money too. And then, so I asked him, because the story was something with it. So I said, and where do you live? Which door? What should we do? And he said, we can take it. We can go everywhere, Okay. And then you say, no, I wanted to run. And my friend said, no, no. And I say, what is he doing? And then she said, no, he had taken off his pants. And I said, but we must run. So we ran, and my mother was at home. And we told her the whole story. And how did she react? What do you think? Pardon?
Got angry with you.
Yeah, she was very upset. Because she was so angry, because she was so worried. And she said, Karin, how can you follow a man you don't know? You know, things like that. And from my point of view, it was, I thought that I had been really, really brave and good and made everything perfect. So what did I learn from that situation? No, not to go with the strangers. Don't tell. Don't tell her about things like that. And I think, because if you think about when your kids are telling you a story from school, it's about bullying or anything, then you got really upset. And perhaps you started to say, why did you do that? Why? And then you were upset. And then I promise you that your kids will think, no, I'm not going to tell her all the stories, because she reacted in that way. So active listening is the opposite. Is to calm your feelings down, and it's to listen and also with open-ended questions. Not like yes or no questions. Open-ended questions. Repeat what the other person has said. Calm down, repeat, and say, did I understood you right? And then you can repeat the sentence. It sounds very easy, but it is quite difficult. And if you think about that, even when you are with grown up, have you been in a room when people said they have a really bad disease, cancer or anything? And all the people said they really want them to listen to them. And people start to talk about their brothers-in-laws, cancers, or sisters, or neighbors, or anything like that, because they got anxious. It's their feelings inside they want to talk about. And then you are not, the feeling is that you are not listening to me. You are not where I am. You are somewhere else in your own feelings. So I think this is a really good tool, and you can practice it every day, every night and every morning, to be calm down and listen, and see if you can ask these open-ended questions. So now you can talk with your neighbor again about what do you think about these tools we have talked about, which will be the easiest one or the most effective one to use.
It is very important, but it's also tough, because in the busy life, you're not doing enough the waste of time to listen. I remember I was quite a lot to move with my 3 children, and they were working in the same year. 3 and 5. So I remember how when I talked to one, the youngest son, she took my face and pushed it away. That was quite Lisa, she must have find a reason for that, so that I didn't listen. I like to think about it, but that was really tough to listen to them all, because sometimes they were all that's all for you too.
I've had that happen actually with my 2.5-year-old grab my face too.
Yeah.
They can pay attention, and it does refocus you.
Yeah, of course. What can you do? That was difficult also.
So what did you say here? about the tools now, the eye language and the active listening. What did you think? What will be the hardest one or the easiest one to start with? Or
we were talking about active listening. It's very difficult, but we think it's so good when you manage. But it's very, very difficult, both with your children and with your friends and family.
yeah, did you agree?
Yes, it's very important, I think, to be listened to for a child. So it's very basic.
Yeah, and to
It
make
builds
them
up a
to
relationship.
realize themselves instead of have all these being told things. They need to understand more the reasons why they can't do things.
Yeah.
We also say it's very hard if you have 2 or 3 children and they want to talk to you and you want to give them attention. I remember my little youngest daughter used to move her face like that, and you had that happen too. But that's a little bit of a proof of when you do this and that.
Yeah. I think you need to practice for a while and try. And I think it's very easy when you are calmed down and when they're telling you good stories. I think the challenge is when you're a bit worried about it. Then it's a challenge when your own feelings being more upset. So now it's a really good tool. And this one is the next one, the tool number 5. And it's about learning styles. Have you heard about learning styles? Yeah. I think because when I started to work with learning styles, it was when I was a teacher. I think it was like a revolution for me. Because I think, when I went to school, it was like everyone learned in the same way. It was one way, one path. It was like, do this. Now we know that everyone is very different. And if you think about the visual is the people that really can remember how it stands in the text, how it is, or a picture. Perhaps they will ask, can we have the presentation afterwards? They take notes. Then it's a really visual person. And the auditory, the teachers are often very auditory. They want to talk and listen all the time and tell stories. And that's the one who said, I love that teachers that told stories all the lessons, all the time, because then I remember everything. I think, if you think about this, how the school is, so this is all about this. We are all very trained in this. And these two, the kinesthetic, think about people who wants to move their bodies. That's the people when they are grown up and they say to you that, poor you are in the office sitting on a chair all day. And I say, okay, because they really want to move the body and they need to do that to feel well. And perhaps they need also to, when they are going to learn something, they need a ball or something like that so they can move their bodies and learn new things. And if you think about the tactiles, then you have the people when they are grown up, they are like working with massage or hairdressers or things like that. They want to touch things with their hands. And of course you can see that in school this perhaps is the losers during the school system. But I think it's so good when you can realize that we are different even when we work together, grown up. And we think that our own way of learning is the best way. And perhaps you think that your kids, especially if you have the same gender, then you think they are very like you. But perhaps they are not that. Like that. And I think one of my children is more kinesthetic and tactile. So I realized that, and I've seen that kids, that the friends, they are more hugging each other. I can see they're more touching things all the time. And when I realized that, okay, that kid is different from me, that was a huge step forward in our relationship. And when I was a principal, I had one on the staff, and she was not a teacher, and she sent emails to me, so very long emails, and I answered okay, in a short sentence. And when we have this conversation, so for me it was like she didn't understand what I said. It was really confusing, a little bit frustrating. And one day, when we have a coffee break, then I heard that she said to another person, she said, no, I didn't like these teachers who talked all the lessons because I didn't learn anything. It was really boring. And then I realized, okay, she's so visual. So then, before our conversation, I started to write very long emails to her. And then she had her long emails in front of her, and I had the long emails in front of her. Then we could have a really good conversation, because I realized that I needed to change my way of communicate. So I think this is so fantastic. And if you want to learn more, you can read about it, and it's also tests at internet. So you can try, or you can see what you are. Do you know more what you are? When you think about the learning styles, what you have for learn, what you prefer.
Yeah, I think so, yes.
It is? What for you?
I think I'm visual.
Ah?
Yeah.
And you?
Yeah, I'm visual too.
And you?
Synesthetic.
I'm visual and tactile.
Ah? Okay. And you?
Absolutely. Would you say auditory?
Auditory, yeah. Yeah?
Definitely. Yeah, I like to talk.
Yeah?
I listen.
Yeah. Okay. And you think about that. Sometimes we think our kids will so alike us, but I don't think it is like that all the time. So that's also a very good tool. And people asked me when should I be really worried for my kids when I was a teenager. And I think I have listed some things that I think that you should be really worried. And we know now today that if you have school problems, we know there's a risk factor. If you are skipping schools, if you fail in school, things like that, if the teachers complain, if they say bad things or problems, then I think it's a good idea to look for more help and to solve that. But that we know that it's a risk factor. And if your kid be really passive or apathic, or really, it's not like everyone said teenagers are tired, but more than perhaps they are depressed, where you are worried about that, then I also think then you can be worried and ask for more help. And we talk about also extreme weight gain or loss. That can also be something to be aware about if it happens. And we also know it's a risk factor. Some people are more like taking risks or adventurous. It can be a good thing if you take that energy and use it in a good way, but we also know it can be something to be worried about. And I also think it's a good thing to think about your own values, because children do not do as you say, but as you do. So now if you say that, for example, that you don't like when they are have bad mouth about people or saying bad things, and then when you have dinner, then you talk about your colleagues or your neighbors, then they realize what you do, not what you say. So unfortunately, that's a hard thing, because they do as you do. And I think it's a good way also to think about young people and gender roles. Because I don't think the society is still very conservative, I think, it's my belief. And I met a grown-up speedway driver. And she said, now she lives with her husband, and they are both speedway drivers. And she said to me it was really awful when she was a young girl, because everyone, their expectations of her and how she should be, it was so hard for her, because everything was like, you are a girl, you must be like this. So I think, think about how you treat your boys and your girls differently, and if you give them a little bit more space, I think it can be really good for them. And also think about your own values for young people and alcohol, of course, and even, of course, of LGBTQ. Think about your values and how you will really support your kids. So they will have good values. And think about even your own expectations. I think if we be honest, we have high expectations of our kids. And our parents have for us, perhaps, they wanted to become doctors or some successful professions or whatever. And think about who am I if my kid will choose their own way. And if they does not need me any longer, how will it feel? They will be independent, because when they are small, you don't think it will ever happen. And I can hear, in the workplace, when they have small kids, they say, well, my kid will not think about me like I did about my parents. And then I can say, yeah, wait and see. And what can you think about if my child is not like others? What can you think about that, Because my youngest son is gay. And I would be really happy if I could say nowadays, in Sweden, in this society, it will be no problem at all. But unfortunately, it's not like that. And it's even difficult if you think about that. It's very important for young people to be like the others. So I think it's a challenge to be not like others in the first case. And you think about even that other people saying bad things, jokes, things like that, and have their feelings and values, and they show that they don't like gay people, or they joke about them, and they are showing that you are not like us. So that's been really hard. And therefore I have an advice really for if you have a child that is not like others. It can be other things too. It can be a diagnosis or something that is not like others. Then you really have to give them more love. That's my 100% advice. Because I think if you give them more love, you can show them so that you can support them, because they need a little bit more self-esteem to live a good life in this world. So that's, I think, it's very important. And I read about compassion, so I really want to finalize, talk a little bit about compassion, because I think we live in a time that we have a lot of stress. And if you want to, you have a link here. It's Compassion Portalen. It's in English, so you can all download this and read about these exercises. And I think you can have compassion with yourself, and if you have compassion with yourself, then you even can have compassion with other people. When you fly, the first time I was so confused by this, put the mask on you first and then you help your kid, because I was thinking you must help your kid first, because I didn't realize, because if you are not conscious, then you can't help anyone. So I think that therefore it's so important to have compassion with yourself. And stress, we know that today, that stress reduces the ability to see others. And compassion can also give you the tool to be better to help others. And I think also it's important to teach kids how to have strategies to deal with distressed feelings. Because the good feelings they will handle, because everyone handles good feelings, but the distressed feelings is difficult. And then you need some strategies to calm you down, not be so worried, not be so anxious or angry or stressed or things like that. So it's a lot of tools, it's very much about breathe, think about what you do, and calm down yourself. Because we have this system in the brain. We have the threat system, Everyone has noticed when you have the threat system, it's very automatic and fast. You react very quickly because It's the evolution is about danger, and we react so fast. And the exploratory system is more about raises curiosity. So you can be more curious about what happened. And then they have the security system, and then it's the feeling of inner harmony. And I think perhaps this one we really need to practice and to exercise, perhaps every day, so also we can show our kids and teach them to come to this feeling of inner harmony without eating or playing with the computer or look at TV or anything like that. And I think I really want to learn more about it by myself, about this compassion. It's very similar to mindfulness. You see, it's so many exercises that you can start to do by your own. And at least I really want to send to you this advice, or that is to take care of yourself, because you are your child's role model. And it's so important to take care of yourself and put boundaries for yourself, because you show your kids how you treat yourself, and then you show them how to do it. So I think that's a really a good advice I want to give to you. And also to think good thoughts about your way of become a parent, because it's difficult to become a parent. And I think you are all good parents, because you will go to a parenting seminar and listen to this to become a better parent. So take care of yourself and think nice thoughts about your own way to become a parent. Thank you so much.
Thank you.